Now, the news about Elissa Slotkin deciding to run for the United States Senate. She's a member of Congress right now, a Democrat from the sort of Howell, Lansing, Oakland County area there. Is not a surprise, but it's formal now. And John Sellek is the founder and CEO of the Michigan political consulting firm Harbor Strategic Public Affairs, and on our AT&T line to talk politics this morning. Thank you for being here.
Sure. Good morning, Michael Patrick.
So anyway, this now formally means that she's running for Senate. And the question posed by MERS News and others is, does that clear the field now of the other Democrats who are thinking about doing it? They have been sort of bowing out with more frequency, it seems.
Yeah, and it's by no accident that all these big hitters like Mallory McMorrow and Garland Gilchrist and some others all back out within the 48 hours before she announces. So a lot of work has clearly been done behind the scenes. There's complications for some of those others, like Garland Gilchrist is the tie-breaking vote in the Michigan Senate for Governor Whitmer. So if they want to enjoy those Democratic majorities, they need to keep him where he's at. That comes with the job. It turns out being lieutenant governor is actually an important job, even though we joke about vice presidents and lieutenant governors. But for the Democrats so far, instead of the Hollywood happy ending, we're at the Hollywood happy beginning for them, at least from a national scale. They look at Debbie Stabenow and see somebody who's unoffensive, kind of plays it down the middle, and was a lock for re-election. And then they look at Elissa Slotkin and kind of think the same thing, except new rising star, massive fundraiser, and positioned for the kind of issues in a general election that would allow Democrats to win in the same fashion and style of Governor Whitmer, and that proved to be pretty effective. So I think most Democrats are pretty happy. The question is, will we see somebody run to her left, whether it's kind of a suicide mission or somebody significant?
She's 46 years old, Elissa Slotkin, and she was part of that Problem Solvers Caucus, which makes her kind of a centrist in some ways. Who was left to outflank her to the left for the nomination? Because we still haven't heard really yet from the Secretary of State as to whether she's interested in running or not. And wasn't Debbie Dingell thinking about it too?
Yeah, absolutely. You hit it on the head. Those two are the big names that are still out there who have not formally said they won't run. As Secretary of State, certainly the GOP sees Jocelyn Benson as a progressive left-leaning candidate. I think she would have to be taking a jump to the left on a lot of other issues that she isn't normally seen talking about. So she'd have some more to do to establish herself as that person. She doesn't come with that reputation automatically like a Rashida Tlaib or somebody like that. And Debbie Dingell has just been, she's done everything in her career, and she can position herself however she wants. Be kind of surprised if we see those folks get in. The issue, Michael Patrick, is just that these seats don't come open very often. And so the Democrats have won a lot of races, and they have a lot of people who are ambitious, and they want to keep kicking the tires and not just be told no. My guess is we'll still see most of them drop off. For Slotkin, the person to the left, if it was a replay of the 2018 primary for the governor's race, is that somebody like a Shri Tanadar or Abdul Al-Sayed that runs to the left. I'm not saying those two in particular. They run to the left and they beat Gretchen Whitmer in the city of Detroit. So you see yesterday, the very first things that Slotkin was doing was to be on Stephen Henderson's radio show on Detroit Today and start working that Democrat base to try to introduce herself. Because we have to remember, even though we see her all the time here in the mid-Michigan area and all of us political junkies, she's never run statewide before. So she has some work to do to introduce herself.
It's Holly, where her family farm was, and that's where she moved to run for office when it came time to run. Her family created the High Grade Foods Company, then they sold the ballpark Franks at Tiger Stadium. That's where I guess the money came from initially there, too. So if we often talk about the Democrats, what about Republicans who might run against somebody like Elissa Slotkin? We're going to talk with Mike Rogers a little bit later, former congressman. Do you think he might throw his helmet in the ring, or are there any viable candidates that could even give the Democrat, whoever it may be, a run for their money?
Yeah, they are. The GOP, if we had to bet our own money today, we'd have to say, well, the primary probably could look like it did in 2022 for the governor's race, just a casting call of activists and MAGA-style attention getters and all that kind of stuff. But there are a few candidates that could be top tier, like Mike Rogers, and he certainly is making the rounds lately. We're going to be seeing him at the Lansing Chamber coming up soon. Peter Meyer is making noise about jumping into that race with his wealth and name and experience he has to have some help there in a primary with his first vote being on the impeachment, but it could be there. And the Democrats don't want to see him in a general, that's for sure. And then there's a couple congressmen, members of Congress like Lisa McLean from Southeast Michigan and Bill Heisinger from West Michigan, who would all be top-tier candidates for the GOP. It's just a question of if they actually are going to give up their seats to make a run at it, and how coordinated the GOP primary could be compared to how the Dem primary has been so far.
Elissa Slotkin deciding to run for Senate leaves that House seat open. And I'm seeing, thanks again to MERS News, a few names this morning that have surfaced from the Ingham County Clerk, Barb Byram, Lansing Mayor Andy Shore, and former State Senator Curtis Hertel Jr. among the three that I see, maybe Sarah Anthony, too. They're all from the Lansing area, of course.
Yeah, and the seat is mostly based around that. It has tentacles that go outward, but that's the power center. And, boy, that's the seat for now, where the Democrats may have a fight on their hands, where you and I and others that love the political bubble are going to be really having a lot of juicy stuff to talk about. A lot of people we know well, a lot of people that are our friends that we like you mentioned, Andy Shore, the mayor, and Kurt Sertel, the former senator who now works for the governor. Barb Byram, who's done a fantastic job on the Dem side, building up her reputation as a pro-democracy, safe elections advocate. Sarah Anthony, who's African-American female woman who's head of the Appropriations Committee. She has all kinds of rising star written all over her. It could be a real battle for that. Whereas on the Republican side, it already looks like Tom Barrett will make a run at it again. And you'd have to give him the pole position at this point because of all the money spent on him last time. People know who he is. He did not get blown out or anything like that. He lost to what is the Democrats' new rising star in Elissa Slotkin. There's no shame in that, and we'll see him make another run at it. I don't think he'll get a formidable challenge.
I don't remember how many points he finished behind Elissa Slotkin, that being former Senator Tom Barrett, but he also had to run with the abortion proposal on the line, too, and it could be a different ballgame without that, couldn't it?
Well, it absolutely is, because today we'd have to bet that Joe Biden is the issue, not abortion. Abortion will be out there, and the Democrats will figure out a way to try to put it on the ballot or make it an issue. They still have legislative work to do on that front, so it's not over with yet. But Joe Biden will actually be on the ballot this time. The voters did everybody a favor in Michigan on the Democratic side by not blaming local Democrats for Joe Biden's mistakes. This time they actually get to punish him if they choose to.
He says he'll be on the ballot. Do you believe that still?
Michael Patrick, have you met a politician in all of your time that wanted to go home? Especially once they have the White House.
No, that's true. They do not want to back away from the trough. And even if they're not running, they say they're not, but maybe they are, in the case possibly of Gretchen Whitmer, who Donald Trump pointed out yesterday would be one of the leading candidates if Joe Biden decides not to run. So he threw her in the ring, whether it was just for some fundraising efforts or not. Thank you so much. It's Harbor Strategic Public Affairs. John Sellek, the founder and CEO, with Michael Patrick Shiels through the AT&T microphones.